You wake up in the morning, and there's no reason to move. Nothing excites you. Nothing terrifies you either. Life just is. And that emptiness, that silent, gray cloud, feels heavier than pain itself. What if I told you Marcus Aurelius knew this feeling too? He wasn't just an emperor. He was a man who woke up to the burden of war, the death of children, betrayal from friends, and the crushing awareness that no amount of power could stop the slow decay of everything he loved. And yet, he left behind words, private thoughts, not public speeches, that feel like whispers from someone who sat in the dark and found a way to light a candle anyway. If you are distressed by anything external, Marcus wrote, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Let that sink in. You don't have to lie to yourself. You don't have to pretend things are good. But you can revoke the meaning you've assigned to your suffering. Not because it's fake, but because it's not final. And that shift, tiny as it may seem, is the beginning of movement. Maybe you're tired not because life is meaningless, but because you've been running from the truth, that everything ends, and you've been gripping what you cannot keep. Marcus faced this daily. He buried most of his children. He ruled a decaying empire. He couldn't escape illness, loss, or fatigue. And yet he wrote to himself, at dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I am rising to do the work of a human being. This wasn't toxic positivity. It was defiance. A quiet, stubborn rebellion against numbness. You're tired of life. Good. That means your soul is still alive enough to feel tired. The dead don't feel tired. They don't feel anything. You are not done. You're just out of alignment with your purpose. And Marcus reminds you that the purpose is not to feel good, but to do good. To live according to reason. To contribute something, even when no one sees it. He didn't write for an audience. His meditations were never meant to be read by others. They were a map out of despair. Not a sermon, but a survival guide. And maybe that's exactly what you need now. He told himself, do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about others. It is not what others do or say that should trouble you, but your own actions and judgments. So stop scrolling. Stop comparing. Stop measuring your worth by the noise of the world. If you are tired of life, it's probably because you've been living by someone else's script. You've been pretending that comfort is the goal. That applause means you're valuable. But Marcus calls that out for the lie it is. He says, the tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say. Or think, or do. Only what you do. What if your next breath isn't for anyone else? What if it's simply a return to yourself? To the core of what you are, not a career, not a label, not a follower count, but a rational being with the power to choose the next step. However small. You don't need to fix your whole life right now. You need to remember this, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That's not a motivational poster. That's the battlefield truth from a man who ruled over plague, famine, war, and still got up every day to write, to reflect, to return to his principles. Because what else is there? Distractions fade. Fame fades. Pleasure turns sour. But inner strength, built moment by moment, becomes a fortress no one can breach. And that's what Marcus is offering you. Not a reason to live based on illusions. But a call to come home to your own reason, your own virtue, your own flame. Even if it flickers now, it's still burning. And that means hope is not lost. You sit with that silence, don't you? No music. No distraction. Just the sound of your own thoughts bouncing around like echoes in an empty cathedral. And some of them are ugly. Some of them say, what's the point, or, you've wasted too much time, or even worse, you'll never be whole again. But Marcus had a way of answering voices like that. Not with force. Not with denial. But with clarity. Cold, calm clarity. Think of yourself as dead, he said. You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly. Do you see what that means? You get to start over. Not because the world will forgive you. Not because your mistakes will vanish. But because right now, this very moment, is all you actually own. Not yesterday. That's gone. Not tomorrow. That's just a theory. Now. Marcus reminds us that life is short not to scare us, but to sharpen us. He says, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Most people treat life like a practice round. They keep waiting for the real version to begin. They wait for clarity, for love, for success, for energy to magically return. But Marcus says, what if this is it? What if this hour, this cup of coffee, this quiet room is not a pause, but the main event? Would you waste it scrolling? Complaining? Regretting? You're tired of life because you keep hoping it will feel different. But life doesn't owe you a feeling. It gives you time. It gives you space. And the rest, that's on you. What would Marcus do with this moment? He'd breathe. He'd observe his thoughts. He'd write a line or two to remind himself of who he wants to be. Because for him, Stoicism wasn't philosophy. It was action. It was medicine. It was the only way to live with pain and not let it rot the soul. He wrote, "How ridiculous and how strange to be surprised at anything which happens in life." Think about that. You suffer. You lose. You get tired. And yet you act like it's unfair. As if anyone promised you a smooth ride. Marcus reminds us that life is nature. And nature includes storms. Winter. Decay. Why should you be spared? But that's not hopelessness. That's freedom. Because if you stop expecting life to be easy, you stop panicking when it's hard. If you stop waiting for perfect peace, you stop feeling ashamed for being restless. That's the paradox. Once you accept the storm, you begin to navigate it. You stop cursing the waves and start steering the ship. You want a reason to keep going? Here's one: you are a part of nature too. A small spark in the great fire. And your job isn't to control the fire. Your job is to burn clean. Marcus didn't pretend he wasn't overwhelmed. He didn't hide his fatigue. He simply refused to let it define him. Tune your soul, he said, to the rhythm of the universe. That rhythm includes suffering. But also courage. It includes endings. But also renewal. If you've hit a wall, maybe it's not the end. Maybe it's the echo of your old self cracking, so something stronger can come through. That strength is not dramatic. It's not loud. It's not a speech or a moment of glory. It's what Marcus called the art of living. You rise. You think. You act. Even when no one claps. Especially when no one sees. There's a passage he wrote that hits like a hammer if you really let it land. Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. Not feel good. Be good. The tiredness you carry, that emptiness, it's real. But it doesn't excuse you from living with virtue. Marcus didn't get a break. He didn't get to run from the empire. He didn't get to resign. And neither do you. But what he did do, what you can do, is strip life down to the essential. Ask yourself, what is in my control? Your breath. Your thoughts. Your values. And what's not? Other people. Outcomes. The past. So stop trading your peace for illusions. Stop thinking that if you just had a better job, or more praise, or fewer problems, you'd feel alive again. That's not how this works. Marcus knew the game. He ruled the most powerful nation of his time, and he still felt the same inner ache you feel. That gnawing sense that nothing is quite enough. And so he looked inward. He stopped chasing. He started observing. He trained his soul. If it is not right, do not do it, he wrote. If it is not true, do not say it. So simple. But that's the way out. Simplicity. Honesty. Discipline. Not as a punishment. But as a path. You don't need to escape your life. You need to inhabit it fully. To show up. To be awake. To be intentional. Even in pain. Even in boredom. Even in fatigue. Especially then. Because that's when the soul is forged. Not in moments of comfort, but in trial. And Marcus Aurelius knew that better than anyone. The world today tells you to escape. Escape your job. Escape your thoughts. Escape your silence. Escape even yourself. They call it self-care. They sell it in ads and apps and promises. But Marcus Aurelius knew something most people today forget. You don't heal by running. You heal by returning to who you are beneath all of it. When you arise in the morning, he said, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. You may not feel that right now. That's okay. But just because you don't feel it doesn't mean it isn't true. Life is still a privilege, even when it's heavy. Even when your mind is foggy. Even when everything in you screams to shut it all out. You think you're tired of life? Maybe you're just tired of the performance. Tired of pretending you're okay. Tired of chasing dreams that don't belong to you. Tired of being everything to everyone, except yourself. And Marcus would nod. He would understand. But then he would say, dig deeper. He wrote, look within. Within is the fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up, if you will ever dig. So let's dig. What do you value, not what others told you to value? Not success. Not likes. Not image. You. What do you care about when the noise fades? What principles matter to you? What kind of person do you want to be, even if no one notices? Stoicism is not about suppressing emotion. It's about elevating reason. It's about aligning your life with truth, even if it's uncomfortable. And the truth is, there will be days when you feel absolutely lost. When no light comes. When even waking up feels like defeat. But Marcus never said you had to win every day. He only said you had to stay on the path. To act justly. To speak truthfully. To endure patiently. You are not a machine that broke down. You are a soul in flux. The fact that you feel this ache, that you're still searching, means you haven't given up. Not really. Not yet. And here's something else Marcus said, something that might surprise you. Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. In his own soul. You've been looking everywhere, work, travel, people, pleasure, for relief. But Marcus points inward. Not in some mystical way. Not in a vague self-help tone. But with deep, disciplined attention. Your soul is the only place that can't be taken from you. Not by loss. Not by failure. Not even by death. That's why he trained his mind so ruthlessly, not to become numb, but to become free. Freedom is not pleasure. Freedom is self-command. You may be in pain. You may be exhausted. But you are still free to choose your next thought. Your next word. Your next act. That's what Marcus kept reminding himself. Not to rise above others. But to rise above despair. He wasn't immune to sadness. He didn't deny the darkness. But he never let it define him. The impediment to action advances action, he wrote. What stands in the way becomes the way. Read that again. What stands in the way becomes the way. You're tired. Then that's your path. Your tiredness isn't a barrier, it's the terrain. And once you stop fighting it, once you stop resenting that fatigue, you can start walking through it. One breath. One step. One word. Maybe today you don't feel like doing anything great. That's fine. Do something small, just do it with greatness of soul. Marcus knew that discipline was not some grand gesture. It was in the little things. The way you speak. The way you hold silence. The way you meet difficulty, not with complaint, but with courage. It's okay to feel broken. It's okay to not know where you're going. But it's not okay to betray yourself in the process. You must be loyal to your own nature. And your nature is not despair. It's not confusion. It's reason. It's courage. It's dignity. Don't wait to feel like it. Don't wait for inspiration. That's not the Stoic way. Marcus wrote, don't waste time debating what a good man is. Be one. You don't need permission to begin again. You don't need a sign from the universe. You just need to begin. Even if your hands are shaking. Even if your thoughts are loud. Even if your heart feels numb. Begin. This very moment is sacred, because it's the only one you have. And how you use it, that's your character. No one can take that from you. So breathe. And start with what is in front of you. Wash the dishes. Write a sentence. Take a walk. Speak gently to someone. Resist that one impulse that weakens you. You are not what you feel. You are not what you fear. You are what you do, consistently, intentionally. That's Stoicism. That's how Marcus lived. Not in glory. But in the quiet mastery of each day. And if you do that, even in fatigue, even in despair, something begins to change. You stop needing everything to be perfect. You stop waiting for motivation. You start trusting yourself. And in that trust, you find something better than pleasure. Better than relief. You find peace.